I'm Wib Newton. I was raised in an industrial part of this country. Work ethic was held in highest regard. The task needed to be completed, up to a point where if anything got in the way of accomplishing that task, whether because of outside circumstances or something that was going on inside of me personally, it needed to be disregarded. It needed to be pushed aside because the task needed to be completed. While there are times when that is a valuable asset to have, resource to pull upon, there are times when it's important for us to stop and say, no, wait a second. I'm reacting a certain way. Why am I doing that? What's driving this reaction, this behavior? And so that's what we're wanting to during this particular segment. We talked in the last video about certain reactions we have. And it's good. Those are easy to see. Those are the ones that just stand out and we go, oh man, I'm yelling, I'm screaming, I'm avoiding, I'm being critical. You can see those. But you don't stop usually and say, what's driving me to do this? And so this video, we're going to be taking a deeper look into a part of you that maybe you don't spend a lot of time in, but is extremely valuable. I'm Wib Newton, and this is Self-Tech. Have you ever wondered how we determine who we are? Well, one of the most important things that communicate to us as a child, especially as this identity is beginning to get developed, is how love is being expressed. If I am receiving love by words and of gestures that say, I'm unique, I'm valuable, I'm significant, I'm important, people like being around me. If I'm receiving messages like that, that is telling me who I am. And at the very basis of that, it is saying, I am loved. Love is one of the most important qualities that we have to embrace within ourselves. And when we're younger, the way that that is being communicated to us by significant people in our life, pastors, coaches, teachers, of course, our families, that's how we are grabbing a hold of this idea as to whether we are loved or whether we are lovable. It's very important. And what happens, though, is because of our brain being bent more towards the negative, we have a tendency to pick up on any negative aspect, any negative message that might be being sent out there. I remember I was walking down the street one time when I was in grade school, and I was just singing. I decided that I was just going to sing out loud. I was going to the barbershop to get my butch haircut, and it was a cold day, and I had my parka on, and I was just walking along by myself. I had about 7 blocks I had to walk. And all of a sudden, this teenager, I don't know who he was, but he comes by me, and he hears me singing, and he says, "Shut up, stupid." Whoa. Again, the message that I received, I can still remember that. And I'm a lot older than 7 years old right now. But that negative message, it implanted inside of me. And that's what happens when we are growing up. So these messages of love, that I am unique, I am valuable, that people like being around me, they get communicated several ways. Sometimes it's touch, sometimes it's words. Personally, I can't remember ever being hugged. I can't ever remember hearing positive words. And I was asked later on in life, how did I know that I was loved? And I came up with, well, I had food, I had clothes, I had shelter, I had a bed to sleep in. And while those were expressions of love, I feel without a doubt my parents gave me, my little spirit was left with an emptiness that looked to be filled. It looked to be filled. Now, when you may feel unloved, not worthy, insignificant, not important, not valued or valuable, you may have a tendency to react certain ways. That's what drives those reactions we talked about in the previous video. Love is about as primary as you can get, a fundamental. You can't get any deeper than feeling loved or unloved. And then all the other words that go under that are kind of shades of this word. So as you look at what drives some of your behavior, ask yourself, how was I loved growing up? Is that what drives some of my bad behavior today? We know that receiving those messages, whether directly, indirectly, intentional or unintentionally, of whether we are loved or unloved, they are extremely important. They help us feel better about ourselves, or we begin to question our value and worth. The other leg of that is not only whether we are loved or unloved, but is my world safe? Do I feel safe or unsafe? Are the people or my environment trustworthy, or is it untrustworthy? I could be sitting at the dining room table, and I could be talking to my family, sitting beside my dad, and I tell a joke, and it's funny, everybody laughs. The next day I tell a joke very similar to that, and I get a slap in the face. Well, my world's not predictable. I'm walking on eggshells now. What am I going to say that might cause my parents to get angry at me, to lash out at me? I feel sorry for those people who have had to go through a divorce when they were a child, where their parents one day sat them down and said, we're going to break up. And those kids had absolutely no idea it was taking place. Or even if they had heard so much yelling and screaming, that alone is causing them to feel as though their world is not safe. I could believe that people could be raised in a bubble where it was just totally 100% safe, butterflies and rainbows, and then one day they decide to go to New York, and it just happens to be on 9/11. Boom. Their world is not safe. Safety is one of those aspects that can turn around and communicate whether they are loved or not. You're yelling and screaming at me. I'm feeling unsafe. And because also you're yelling and screaming, that means you don't love me. And so those love and trust, they can sometimes communicate back and forth to each other. So feeling helpless, powerless, out of control, controlled, fear of failing, all of those are really being driven by whether or not I am feeling safe or unsafe. Assault victims who later on have a very difficult time developing a good relationship. It's because they can't ever really feel safe. Being raised with an alcoholic whose life then is unpredictable. I've heard of stories that people moved 7, 8, 10, 12 times where they could not ever stay in one particular place because they were always dodging the bill collectors. It's a tough environment. So all of this, both love and safety, love and trustworthiness, they were all driving negative behavior. I'm going to feel worthless, not good enough. And so how I'm going to cope with it is I'm going to beat myself up, or I'm going to blame you for making me feel that way. I'm feeling helpless and powerless, out of control. I'm going to get into control. I'm going to try to organize my life where I can try to make myself feel safe. Or I'm just going to escape and I'm going to numb out because I'm tired of feeling this way. What's really important, especially as you're using this app with self-tech, is that you're stopping and considering what is pushing my bad behavior. What is causing this to take place? To go a little bit further with the idea of trust and trustworthiness or safety, one of the deeper needs that we all have is to connect. We're not meant to be just hermits and living in a cave. But when you have been hurt and you no longer are, well, you're afraid to reach out and you withdraw, you're really keeping yourself from having what you really desire, and that is connection. Is it understandable? Yes. It's very understandable. Is it debilitating? Is it sabotaging the very things that you want? Love, safety. Your bad behaviors are distracting from that. They're keeping you from accomplishing those very things. So in our videos to come, we're going to help you find a way to refute or to challenge these negative thoughts. It's going to be a journey, but with the help of these videos and through the use of the Self-Tech app, I believe you can get there. A better self, a better world. Self-Tech. I'm Wib Newton.